So hi, I'm Christian. I'm in third year mechanical engineering at the University of Melbourne, and I'm in the exploration working group at SGC.
Hi, I'm Cynthia. I'm the Australian Youth Aerospace Association President. I'm in the Society Project at the Space Generation Congress in Cape Town this year, and I study arts aerospace.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm the Secretary for the Australian Youth Aerospace Association. I'm currently working on the industry group at SGC 2011 Cape Town. And I'm also an arts aerospace engineering double degree student, and I'm in my fourth year, I think. Yes.
Yes, you are.
Good.
As
Thanks.
am I.
I also forgot to mention I'm the Australian Youth Aerospace Forum Melbourne Chair for 2012. So we've just finished our first day at the Space Generation Congress in Cape Town, which was very busy. It involved a bit of work in our working groups. So as part of the exploration group, I was started brainstorming with the team about finding the scope of our task, narrowing down some of the definitions that we're going to be using for our short report that we produce at the end of the 3-day, produced after the Congress is concluded, and discussing potential destinations for robotic space exploration missions that could be practical within a near to mid-term time frame, and what sort of science and what sort of objectives we could gain from those sort of missions.
Okay, so today in the Society Project, the purpose of the project is basically to discuss and then summarise some societal, economic, political, logistical and any technological challenges that we might face as a society in order to sort of integrate space technologies into everyday life. There's been particular focus on disaster management and, disaster response, how we can use satellite data to either prevent, well, not necessarily prevent the disasters, but, better manage them so there is less damage and less tragedy, I suppose. Obviously, if you're prepared for something, then you'd be able to address the situation better than sort of working on your feet while it happens. So basically we've been discussing some roadblocks, such as policymakers not being educated and understanding how their communities can benefit from space technologies, and politicians who sort of work in the short term and don't see the benefits of educating members of the society about how they can use this technology. Even cultural differences, like people who sort of don't believe in technology, and so that's what we sort of discussed today, and tomorrow we'll then be figuring out how we can then market space technologies to members of society and sort of get them to embrace and obviously eventually use the technology to make their lives better and have better disaster response, and should be interesting. Over to you.
Yeah, so I'm in the industry group, so we're talking about space debris. Basically we've split the issue up into 3 main areas. The first area is space situational awareness. I finally remember the acronym correctly, that's good. The problem is there is a lot of stuff out there, and it's flying very fast, and a lot of it's very small, and it's very hard to keep track of. So one of our big issues is just knowing how much, well, we know, I guess, roughly how much, but knowing exactly where and how fast, all these little bits of space debris are travelling. The issue, of course, as well is international cooperation. So while we do have a lot of organisations tracking space debris, they're all tracking sort of different types of space debris, so different sizes and in different sort of orbits. So the difficulty is they're not working together for a whole variety of reasons, and we're discussing, how can we get them to work together? Do we want to get an independent organisation to sort of collate everything? And of course the other issue is a lot of this space debris tracking actually originates from sort of space tracking in the Northern Hemisphere. A lot of it's sort of left over from the Cold War, so they use the same technology they used to use to track the theoretical missiles that were going to come at them during the Cold War, and now they use it to track bits of junk flying around at 7.7 kilometers a second in space. So the issue is it's all focused on the Northern Hemisphere, so there's a lot of blind spots in the Southern Hemisphere. So we've been talking about that, and I've been trying to slowly weasel in, saying, hey, maybe we should set something up in Australia and give us some jobs. So, got your back, guys. Yeah, very good. We've been talking about mitigation. One of the big issues is a lot of space debris is simply created by sending things up. So things like explosive bolts and detachable covers and things like which are perfectly normal parts of the launch procedure. The explosive bolts actually end up going somewhere, and in our case, it's around the Earth at hypervelocity, and it pokes holes in really expensive things. So it's not very good. Another issue is actually just leftover fuel that's left in launch bodies. It just sort of sits there, and you think, it's in space, what could go wrong? But what does go wrong is it then somehow ignites and then creates more space debris, which then collides with more stuff, and it's all really ugly. So I've been talking about, there are guidelines out there, the UN cooperation, COPUOS, let's call it that. Wikipedia it, you'll find the meaning of the acronym at some point, but it's late at night, so I'm not expanding more than COPUOS at this point.
Cooperation on the peaceful use
of outer space. There we go. Christian's got my back. Yeah, it's all good. They've got really good guidelines, but the issue is they're just that. They took like 13 years to make, and they're guidelines, which means everyone agrees with them only because they're not actually, they don't actually legally have to adhere to them. So we've been talking about the difficulties with law, and what happens if there's one organisation or company that decides, hey, let's do the cheap thing, and let's not adhere to these guidelines. There's just no way to enforce it. So that's another difficulty we've been discussing. And finally, the most interesting for all you engineers is active space debris removal systems. So we've been discussing a little bit, sort of the technology that's out there, but we're mostly focusing on how can we encourage people to develop the technology that's out there. Who's actually going to pay for it is a big thing as well, of course, because it's like, other people who've got stuff up, they're going to pay for it. And then there's all these very important but things you wouldn't really think about. But it's like if one country declares a defunct satellite, a piece of space junk, but the other one says, hang on a minute, it still works, we just haven't been using it lately, what are the legal issues there? How can one country pick up another country's space object? And then of course there's the issue of what if, the hypothetical comes about that someone wants to pick up a bit of space junk, but that space junk turns out to be a classified military satellite, and it's very messy. We haven't solved it in one afternoon, so we've still got we'll solve it by tomorrow, so it'll be alright. So tomorrow we're gonna basically just expand on these things. I'm working with my little group on space situational awareness and how we can expand and how can we encourage people to work on it, and how can we get people to share data without them freaking out about saying where their military satellites are and all sorts of stuff. So it's pretty cool.
So apart from the industry projects that we've been working on, we've been obviously involved in a variety of social activities. Last night we all... What did you eat last night for dinner?
I had traditionally cooked chicken.
Okay, so he had the chicken, whereas I had some wildebeest holy creatures like the springbok. If you Google search it, it looks like this majestic god of a creature. I felt like I was committing sacrilege when I was eating it, but it was beautiful. I also had emu, which was interesting. It didn't taste like chicken, it was more like beef.
You sure it was ostrich?
Oh, sorry, not emu. Ostrich.
Ostrich.
Ostrich. And then there was kudu, which looks like wildebeest, and that was delicious also. And then today we went dancing with the choir, and we'll post photos of that up.
Oh God.
Yeah, we were very socially lubricated.
That's one way to put it. Yeah.
So, you guys have anything to add?
Also, a part of the SGC program, at least today, we've had a few speeches from various people who are also attending the Congress, presenting. There are a number of scholarship winners who attended the conference, and their scholarship was based around writing some sort of paper. So there are a few presentations over the course of the 3-day period that involve presenting the papers that they won the scholarships from, and also a couple of presentations from some professionals in the aerospace field that were quite interesting. They have a speaker in each that corresponds to each broad working group area. So today we had the society-based speaker.
Kevin, are these yours?
We had two speakers. The society-based speaker, Ray Williamson.
That was the Kill World Foundation.
That's right. And
Kevin was the outreach presenter. And also, you'll meet really cool people here.
Yeah.
Like, there's just a whole bunch of guys from NASA and EADS and DLR.
And they all have your dream job.
They all have your dream job.
Yeah, everyone you meet, you're like, how do I become you?